Let's discuss that issue further with Hannibal Camua, Executive Director of Philippine Business for Education.
Good morning and welcome to the program. Thanks again for joining us.
Good morning din po at thank you for having me in your program po.
All right, so we would like to ask your assessment dun sa naging opening of classes yesterday. Sabi nga nila, it's a whole new year but with the same decades problem.
Well, you framed it perfectly, Ma'am Angela. No? I think it's every opening of a new school year. I think our education sector is facing the same challenges. And as what I've mentioned in my previous interviews in your program, I think this is also because of decades of neglect on the issues that actually persist in our education system. So if we are talking of, let's say, shortages in terms of classrooms, lumalaki yung shortage na yan because the learner population is also growing. So even if there's a catching up, or let's say there are construction of new classrooms in preparation for the new school year, it's actually not enough to, let's say, para mapunan yung backlog. That was actually because of years and years na meron naman talagang napakalaki na at lumalaki backlog on the classrooms.
Sabi kasi nila, no, for a student to be successful in his study, in journey niya into a success sa school, no, kailangan stress-free ang environment. But it looks like na until now, we're still focusing on blaming the actual curriculum rather than ito, which is very evident already, fixing the actual problem. Facilities, ratio of teachers to students. Meron nga sa opening daw, Hannibal, na the students were on the floor. Have you heard of that? Sa covered court. So why do you think these problems persist and yet we keep on blaming the curriculum?
Well, actually, sir, the curriculum part is another problem. No? And we've discussed this before in your program. Again, kahit gaano kaganda yung curriculum, kahit anong revisions yung gagawin mo dyan, kung hindi equipped yung teachers natin to properly teach the curriculum, magkakaproblema tayo. And that's what we are actually seeing because of the, let's say, the functional literacy rates from the previous survey na ginawa. But looking at it, you are correct in framing it that it's actually first addressing, let's say, the basic just in terms of infrastructure. Kung ano yung kailangan ng ating mga learners for them to have, again, what you've said, a stress-free learning environment. So makikita natin dyan na dapat sapat yung mga classrooms at yung mga silid-aralan at comfortably, dapat na komportable yung ating mga learners habang sila ay nasa eskwelahan. Pero karamihan nga po, at yun yung nakikita natin every opening of the school year, na meron talagang challenge, no? Napakalaki talaga yung challenge on the lack of classrooms and the backlog has been like from yesterday's interviews with Secretary Sani Angara. He said in the news that it's around 165,000 all over the country. So kung titingnan natin sa facilities pa lang, sa number of classrooms, actually for infrastructure, hindi lang classrooms yan pati electricity, access to clean water, which was also emphasized by Secretary Angara yesterday, and also, again, internet connection. But just looking at the classrooms at yung kakulangan po niyan, napakalaking problema kasi nakikita natin na merong mga kabataan na yung kanilang sitwasyon sa classroom, sa sahig nakaupo, merong mga kabataan din na may mga schools na nagpa-practice ng shifting, double shifting, triple shifting, just to make sure na lahat na nandoon in the classroom. So it's, as what I've said, it's actually a result of decades of neglect on this issue, or just on the lack of classrooms. And particularly, sanga-sanga yung problema because from the previous years, this has been blamed on procurement. It has also been the issue, of course, of, let's say, maliban sa standing na yung kakulangan, meron pang mga nasisirang classroom nang dahil sa mga sakuna, nang dahil also din sa mga kalumaan na din ng mga classroom. So again, the problem compounds if we are just looking at it from the point of view ng lack of classroom. May hinahabol tayong numero, but also nagko-compound yung problema Dahil habang naghahabol tayo ng numero para mapunan yung kakulangan sa classroom, ay dumadagdag yung learner population at meron pa pong mga nasisirang classroom, kailangang i-repair na classroom. So I think what needs to be done here is kailangan innovative at yung out of the box na approach on how to solve the classroom shortage.
It's good that you mentioned that, sir, kasi nga isa rin sa issues natin nito na while they recognize na kailangan natin mag-build ng mga classrooms and even mentioned 165,000 nationwide, ay hindi lang basta build, but of course build climate resilient classrooms. Diba? Because we all know naman all year round tayo tinatamaan ng sakuna. And do you also believe or agree with what DepEd Secretary Sonny Angara said yesterday about the new plans on announcement on how they will announce suspension of classes due to typhoons?
Actually, Ma'am Angela, maganda po yun. It's a welcome development. And that's what kami sa PBED, we've always been pushing to empower local governments to make decisions based on their context. So particularly just on the issue of announcing suspension of classes, again, nasa local government, maganda na ibibigay natin sa mga local governments sa localities yung desisyon na yan. Kasi after all, sila yung nakakaalam ng sitwasyon sa kanilang mga lugar. So pwedeng sabihin natin, or in that case, na the typhoon signal is actually already declared and up. Pero sa mismong locality ng isang LGU or sa isang bayan ay hindi naman naulan at hindi naman po kailangang magsuspindi ng klase. So different approaches and empowering the local government to make those decisions is actually a very good move. So para lesser din po yung disruptions sa klase, because we have to bear in mind that the more sa mga araw na nagkakansela tayo ng klase, all the more na nahuhuli yung ating mga learners.
You mentioned kanina, Hannibal, about thinking out of the box. I remember several countries like New Zealand and others, and other people in the educational sector have pointed it out from the Philippines. Na maybe we could take a look at other systems. For example, how about the use of virtual classrooms, not really work from home, but may mga virtual classrooms. Some countries would have, let's say, 50 sila sa class, 20 papasok sa class physically, and for siguro a Monday, the remaining 30 will be in virtual locations just to access, as nag-rotate sila, just to accommodate the lack of classrooms temporarily. What is your take on trying this out?
Good, Sir Angelo, that you have mentioned that, because in other countries that work. But as what I've said earlier, learning infrastructure is not just about classrooms. So before we take a look into that, we need to also do an audit or an accounting of how many of our classrooms or how many of our schools actually have a very stable and reliable internet connection to enable such, let's say, virtual learning. Or a mixed learning, hybrid learning in that case. Kasi karamihan po, may mga eskwelahan pa po na number one, hindi konektado sa internet.
That's right.
Even so,
they don't even have electricity.
Yes, exactly po. So, before we take such, I agree, it's an innovative approach to address the lack of classrooms or yung kakulangan natin doon. But before we even take a look at that, we need to do an accounting of aling mga eskwelahan ba ang konektado sa internet. At number one, that's it. And also, ano yung ideal ratio for, let's say, a learning gadget, or 'di ba, for let's say a tablet or a computer, kasi minsan po kasi, and this we found out especially during the pandemic, access to internet and also a digital learning device is actually nagkakaroon ng barrier, especially for the poorer learners.
That's right.
Wala silang access sa internet at wala silang access din sa isang learning device.
Right. But do you also believe that we could easily address these problems, classroom shortages, teacher shortages, non-teaching personnel shortages, etc., by allocating more funds in the education department?
Definitely, ma'am. I think it's really high time that we take a look at our budget allocation in the education sector. And really kung ano yung ina-allocate natin sa education, particularly for basic education. Magandang tingnan yun kasi how do we perform just in terms of, let's say, global standards? Our neighboring countries are actually allocating more on their education or in their basic education. So magandang tingnan natin kung ano yung global standards on budget allocation. Budget is one thing, and another thing also is looking at the blockers. So even though we have the budget, merong budget yung DepEd, and Secretary Sani said it yesterday in an interview na it would take them around 20 to 30 years based on their current budget and the rate of how classrooms are actually constructed.
Yeah.
30 years. So, magko-compound na naman because the current lack, it would take 30 years para mapunan. Pero, during that 30 years, dumadagdag yung pangangailangan sa classroom. So, as what I've said, it should be innovative. It should be out of the box. And yesterday, Secretary Angara said actually na private-public partnership or a PPP can be also explored. Actually, we welcome that, and kami sa PBED, we've been pushing for tapping the private sector to address the issues on our education system. So just in the case of, let's say, classroom shortages, pwede tayo nating tingnan how can the private sector or even the private schools can actually complement or help in that matter. Pwede nating tingnan po, just like what Secretary Angara said yesterday, na the scheme of, let's say, build now and lease later. So the private sector would build the classrooms now, magpapatayo sila ng mga classrooms, and then once finished, it would be leased to the government. That's one thing.
But some people find it unfair daw para dun sa mga private institution that would shell out funding for that when in fact ang responsibilidad nito ay sa gobyerno.
I agree, ma'am. There should also be a consequent na suporta sa mga private schools. As what I've said earlier, dapat doon din tingnan din natin kung ano yung maitutulong ng private schools, especially let's say for example, na ma-maxed out ba yung capacity ng ating mga private schools just in terms of their student population. Kasi kung titingnan natin, ano po ba yung naghihinder sa ating mga pamilya or sa ating mga learners para mag-enroll also sa private school? Baka number one na cost dyan is yung mismong presyo or yung cost of education in the private school. So it can be explored, and I think like for example in the senior high school, they have the senior high school voucher program para merong suporta sa mga learners na gustong mag-aral sa private school. So it could be also explored.
Pero nagiging avenue for corruption, sir. Ang daming mga ghost students.
There's also that issue.
Ang daming problem, right?
Yes, as what I've said earlier, nagsasanga-sanga yung mga issues Pero kung titingnan natin, once implemented, if we implement it properly and with proper due diligence, it could help decongest also the public schools. Again, if we are looking at the problem of congestion because of the lack of classrooms compounded by the growing number of learners, kailangan we have to tap the private sector as well. Kung ano yung maitutulong nila doon. So I think looking at yung mga existing private schools at kung ano yung capacity nila to absorb more students at kung ano yung pwedeng suporta na maibigay ng gobyerno para ma-enable nga po na max out yung capacity ng ating mga private schools as well.
Yeah, Hannibal, you mentioned kanina, the lack of budget. You also mentioned sanga-sanga na issues. Too many issues, masyadong konti ang budget to address all of these issues. But I remember, I think years back, several economists who trained in Japan said the best way to address a problem is to take at the root cause. So maybe if we were to take a look at one simple problem before we take on the next, what would the first thing do you think we should address and focus the budget on that instead of using the small budget that we have on several issues? Maybe we focus on something yet at the root And then maybe when we address that, we climb to the next step, little by little. That's the way the Japanese do it. So if you were to ask your organization, what would be that very first step that you think we should take a look at carefully?
I think now we should take a look at our learning outcomes talaga, sir. Focus on the basics and then our learning outcomes. I've always been very consistent in terms of arguing that we first look at our basics. Ano yung nandoon? Ano yung nakikita nating problema sa basics? So particularly, let's say, bago sila pumasok sa grade 1. Pre-K, and then also from grade 1 until grade 3. Ano yung ginagawa natin doon? And in that case, just in terms of literacy and numeracy. Kasi sila po, yung mga nasa early grades ngayon, yun po yung tatagal din sa sistema. I'm not saying na lost cause or pabayaan na natin yung mga nandun na sa taas or I'm not saying that. But I'm actually saying is if we're actually going to look at it for a long-term perspective, solusyon sa mga ganitong problema, tingnan natin yung nandoon sa early grades. Ano yung ginagawa natin in terms of number 1, also facilities and infrastructure for early graders, learning outcome of early graders, sino yung nagtuturo, yung mga teachers natin sa early grades, so and so. Because if we do really good in the early grades, again, if we do really good on that part, habang umaakyat po yan sila, na-address yung problema.
Right.
In literacy, in numeracy, sa pagtuturo, so and so. And then as marami pang pumapasok na mga bagong learners, if the system for early grades is actually efficient and effective, na-address natin yung problema habang tumataas sila sa ating learning spectrum, sa ating, let's say, sa ating learning system.
Hindi ka na naghahabol.
Hindi po natin sinasabi dyan na dapat wala na pong interventions for the higher grades. So, focus on the basics. Focus on the first 3 years of basic education.
I agree.
Well, we are one with you in the hopes of making our education sector a better one. But for the meantime, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. Hannibal Camua, Executive Director of Philippine Business for Education. Thank you so much for joining us.
Maraming salamat din po. And until next time, thank you.